Yo, yo,
What's up,
yo.
Lark?
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're at right now. I know good morning to you.
Yes,
Uh,
indeed. It's
uh,
some time of the day for everybody.
you know what? That's a good way to put it. It is some time of the day for everybody.
That
Uh,
philosophy degree is doing its work,
yeah, absolutely. To content or not to content? That is the question. No, we know to content. It's just how to content. That's what we got to cover
Hmm.
today. I'm fired up. I had not one, but two hazelnut lattes this morning at a
Ooh.
coffee meeting. So I think I made quite an impression. So we're fired up today. And I know you're the coffee aficionado. What are we drinking today, bud?
Oh, today I got a medium roast Columbia. It's empty now, but it was delicious going down.
That's how you know how it's good, man.
Yeah,
That's
Black Oak
so.
Coffee Roasters, Ukiah, California. Check them out.
Which one?
Black Oak Coffee, Ukiah, California. 2017 National Golden Bean Award winner.
Ooh, fun fact: Ross is gonna be in the coffee. That's your dream job, is the coffee. Go on, coffee copywriter, having the business, having your own brand, right? Like that's the vision. I know you mentioned
It
that
was
for a
my
couple of
first real
years.
love. I worked in
Yeah,
coffee shops for 6 years, and then I realized I wanted to make grown-up money, and it's kind of hard to do that as a barista. But man,
yeah.
I love it. I love it so much.
It's funny you say the term grown up money because that is what I was talking about this morning. As someone that was also a sport management manager or sport management major, excuse me, like the recruiting owner that I met up with, and I
Mm.
was as well at UMass, and got into sports, and then we realized quickly there's not a lot of money to be had here, but there's a lot of hours. So it's like this equation doesn't seem
Yeah.
to make a lot of sense for us. And then go figure, we all both end up in recruiting. So that kind of seems to be the move. And to that point, the segue of writing content that sells and how to
Hmm.
appeal to hiring managers, right? That's the topic for today. We'll do this for 30 minutes. We'll keep it a tight 30 because we're doing these more consistently. We get into recruiting. A lot of people say, because I love working with people. That's fine. Quickly
Hmm.
realize you can't help everyone, right? As the journey of a recruiter, if you have maybe 30 placements a year, that could mean you're a $500,000 a year biller. Could mean you're $1 million a year biller, depending on what your fees are. That's 30 people. Maybe you have 300, 400, 500 conversations, right? You can't place everyone. You can help a lot of people, but you can't place everyone.
Hmm.
And I think it's a good introduction to content that sells because not every post is created equal. Not every post is going to generate a lead, even though it's a great post and it could get the attention of a manager. We touched on this last week of just like, I think more on the AI. And I think today we want to break down a few posts that have worked and have generated and from clients that have generated, honestly, 6 to 7 figures worth of revenue from LinkedIn content, right? Because a question I get is like, Clark, does this stuff work? Right?
Mm.
When does it work? How is it slow? Does it take forever? And all that? It's like,
That's so common
maybe.
because
Yeah.
anybody can do it, and so everybody tries it. But
Yeah.
whether or not you get anything from it has a ton to do with what you're actually doing.
Yeah, it's exactly it. And I think that's what we want to talk about today. And in our brief little half an hour, snippet. I guess if like you had to come up with a couple common themes, a couple of mistakes people are making. Just in general, we talked about AI more last week, but just in general, even before the AI craze, right?
Mm.
What is like the number one thing I think for you, like get content that it's going to turn into leads.
Yeah, I think that the number one thing when it comes to creating content that is going to turn into leads, not just content that gets attention
Yeah.
overall, but it is talking about the wrong things. And you mentioned earlier, people get into recruiting because they love helping people. That's all well and good. That's great. Nobody's going to think you're a bad person because you talk about helping people. But is that why a business is going to hire you and probably pay you a 5-figure fee? No, probably not. Everybody likes being altruistic, but is that what makes a business run per se? No. And so I think the biggest mistake people make with content recruiters particularly is they are talking about the wrong aspect of what they do. They are not talking about the things that the hiring managers care about, and that it will help the hiring manager understand, oh, I need to, it's worth it to pay this person $15,000, whatever your fees are, to solve this problem for me. A lot of recruiters talk about things that really have more to do with employees or really have more to do with their own experience. And that stuff gets a ton of attention on LinkedIn because let's face it, LinkedIn is really, really full of HR people and job seekers, recruiters, HR people, and job seekers. So these topics about employees, these topics about the hiring process, they get a lot of attention because all the people who are paying attention to LinkedIn, they're really willing to like these posts, they're really willing to comment on them, but they really miss the point for the hiring manager. They're not saying, hey, this is a problem that I know you have, and I want to let you know that I know how to solve it for you specifically. It's really just talking about the wrong aspect. It's not that they're saying anything that's incorrect. It's not that they're saying anything that doesn't matter, but they're just not saying the things that will lead a hiring manager to buy from them.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's we talk about not wanting to go viral and the leads over likes, and we're going to show some examples, but it's really starting with you don't want to talk about yourself. You do want to talk about what's happened, right? What you've experienced, not necessarily what that means to you, but what that's meant for your clients and your prospects and for your candidates, but through your lens, right? It's really about your point of view, not necessarily about you, right? So it's like when you have seen like who is your ideal clients, ideal candidates. First of all, you have to know what your purpose is with content, right? What are the clients and candidates that you want more of? Start there, right? And what problems do they need solved? Right? Hiring is one, maybe, and then what is stopping them from solving those problems? They're with an agency that doesn't find candidates, or they just throws resumes at the wall, or they're spending on job ads because I think that's how they recruit. They just need ZipRecruiter, right? They don't understand what a good hiring process looks like. They don't know how to interview. They don't realize that scheduling interviews 4 weeks apart, they're losing candidates, and maybe they don't understand that they're not competitive on the salary, or that their wish list, wish list candidate is actually going to want $50,000 more than what they're willing to offer, right? So, what does that look like? It's not just getting someone in that seat. There's so many other aspects, and they could be stuck at so many different levels. Think through that, and not in one of those examples is it that about the recruiter, but the recruiter is the one that can highlight that, right? Make them problem aware, or have them resonate. Oh yeah, I am going through that, right? Or twist a knife on a pain point. Ooh, yeah, I have lost candidates because I kind of rescheduled interviews, or one of my managers missed a couple interviews, right? So I had to do all that work over again. Like that's the thing, right? Like, because in this market, the whole goal, you've probably tried email and calls and it's working. Maybe you're getting diminishing returns. So it's like you have to understand your ideal clients and candidates and then show them how you're giving them a different experience, right? That's the power in content, is warming up those calls, having them know you before really they know you, because they see that you get their problems and you're not transactional, but like you really know what they're going through.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's talking about the problems is huge, because that really proves to that hiring manager that you understand them. When you go to a great doctor, or if you think about like House MD, like that show was so popular not because House was just telling everybody what treatment they needed, but because he was able to figure out all the problems that these people had, all the weird illnesses that people came into his office with. And it's the same thing with the hiring manager. They know they've got an issue, they don't know how to solve it, or they would be solving it on their own.
Yeah.
The other people they've worked with haven't been able to solve it themselves. So that diagnosis, zeroing in on like, hey, this is what's happening, this is what I've done to fix it.
It's the diagnostic.
Yeah.
Right. Good content marketing shows that you're an excellent diagnostic. Like that is how I would think about it, right? You are pointing out the root cause, because most recruiters, they don't qualify roles well. They just take a job description and just run with it, and then wonder why they get ghosted and all that, because you didn't take it seriously, and then the company doesn't take you seriously because you didn't qualify correctly, right? So it's like, okay, great, another recruiter that's just gonna kind of do what I say and all that. That's not, they're looking for a leader. The people that get paid the big fees and that come through and all that, they lead and guide companies through the process, right? When people come to you, they're not, Clark, hey, let me tell you what I want to do with my LinkedIn and to get more outreach. They're like, Clark, what should I do? And I tell them, and we set it up, and we execute, and we implement. right? Because I'm the expert. And it's the same
Mm-hmm.
thing as a recruiter, right? You have to own that piece of it. You can't be nice and tiptoe and all that. It's not what they want. It's not what they respect, right? And you have to show that you know how to diagnose their issues. That creates the awareness and the buy-in. Hey, this is worth a meeting, because if I talk to Ross or I talk to John or whoever, they're going to get to the root cause of why we're not getting what we need from a hiring standpoint. That's step one. And then on your end, you're qualifying them. Okay, they understand that. Are they going to be a good client to work with? Here are some of the issues, and then you got to clean up some of their process and see if they're going to buy into what a better hiring process is going to look like, right? And that's kind of, we're getting ahead of ourselves there, but that's like the foundation. And so that's why when you see rocket emojis and M dashes and just posting the post, you come off like a transactional recruiter, someone that's not really taking the time to care about their brand. So if you don't care about your own brand, how are you going to care about my company? Like, why are you going to have the same? And that's why it's brutal to see that and have just the AI slop what we talked about. But even in just content, when you don't have that direction in your marketing, it's like, wait, do you even know? Like, is that going to carry over to your actual work?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, and it's the same thing with people post, my 11 interview tips, or 5 ways to improve your intention, or like retention. All of these kind of things, which can be valuable, but they're only valuable to somebody who believes that it's the solution to their problem. And if they don't think that this information is going to help them, they just ignore it, even if it is what they need.
if I can Google it, is it helpful?
Yeah.
Which should be one of your thought processes. If I can Google this post and get the answer, it's not helpful. But if you're sharing a story about the laid out interview process, or how you changed someone from a 7 interview process to a 3, and what that did for their hiring and their retention and candidates, now that's interesting, right? And that's your story. Now, the science of recruiting is very similar. So it might look similar when people are posting, but that story is unique to you, right? So the themes of what work are the same, right? You got to make it easy for them to care. You got to dig into their problems and what they're doing wrong, and what an enemy of theirs that's a common enemy of yours. Like, you got to talk about those things. So it might look similar, but that's why the stuff that's effective looks similar on paper, but the story is unique to you, right? If you're talking about accounting roles, that's maybe the themes are similar to then what a construction company is doing wrong in terms of hiring the project managers. Right? They might be making the same mistakes, but the stories that you're sharing are different, right? And the experience and the market and all that. And that's what shows the expertise. And that's what gets them to buy into you as a specialist. And that's also why it's like an opportunity for, if you're a generalist, I can just attack everything. Like, why? Like, you really don't need, I bet you there's some common factors into the stuff that is your bread and butter. Force yourself to think through that. It's typically just a strategy issue, and you haven't thought through the type of roles that you want more of. Because when I push people, they always hone in on a couple things that they want to do more of, versus like, oh yeah, maybe I don't have to worry about everything else, right? It's typically like a fear, and it's like on a back foot. Content's your way to put things, be on the front foot with everything, and you dictate the attention that you want and the types of people that you want to interact with and you want more of, and then they're going to buy into you, right? When you draw that line. I was talking this morning about the Masters. They leave a lot of corporate sponsorship on the table. They don't raise the food prices. They're still like $1.50 for like a pimento sandwich and everything else. Like, but people respect the Masters more. They have a prestige because they have clear boundaries and they don't do things for the money. They're like, no, we make enough money, but we rather protect our brand, our integrity, and everyone resonates with that. And so guess what? They fall in line to what the Masters say is what goes, right? Like, that's the recruiters that are getting these inbound leads, because they're dictating the pace. Right? They're not being yanked around. They're the ones dictating. That's how you start creating content that sells, because hiring managers are bought into you that you're different and that you're a step above. You're not competing on price anymore. You're competing on value and service and kind of the white glove and that leadership, and that you know where they need to go. That's a way different experience, right? It's the difference between buying a flip phone and an iPhone, right? And so, like, it's just that's the way you got to think about positioning yourself. That's why outsourcing this stuff overseas, or just relying on AI, or someone that doesn't really understand recruiting, or it's not in the trenches, you're just wasting time and wasting money, because that's the easy, low hanging fruit, right? So I don't know. That's our 15-minute opening segment. We got to get into actually reviewing some of these posts. So let's dive in on what this stuff looks like. Let's put this up on the screen. So we got Rachel. We got a few posts that we're going to cover here, but Ross, if you don't mind, kind of break down why this is effective. And for context, Rachel is someone that signed
Mhm.
50 agreements the last couple of years, all from LinkedIn inbound. She just sent me 3 more last week, inbound leads she got. And
And
it's
4 years
just
ago, she wasn't a recruiter.
4 years ago she was a recruiter. 3 years ago, you know, barely scratched 6 figures, and I think she crossed the $1 million mark. In just the 2 years working with us, and all her leads are inbound content, are from inbound on LinkedIn. Uh, then she gets to use her outreach on candidate, and no one really does that in her sphere and all that. But she also works really hard, and she has the messaging and everything down. But what makes this post kind of different?
Yeah. A few things. One, it's recognizable to her target market. She works with a very specific subset in the medical industry, typically physical therapy clinics for the most part, some other things, but mostly that. And so she's using language that is recognizable to those people. She's not calling them candidates because, listen, every single business in the entire world that hires people has candidates. So if you say the word candidates, how is the hiring manager that you want to talk to going to know that you're talking to them? They don't. So using terms like clinician, using terms like nurses, therapists, and healthcare, especially in the first few lines, which are what you see before you click read more, that is kind of a prerequisite. You have to do that sort of stuff. It has to be able to speak to a specific type of person. The second, she's getting into a problem that these businesses have. Like, why does a business want to work with a recruiter at all? Fundamentally, it is because they need to hire people that they're not able to hire themselves. Whether it's because they can't find them, whether it's because they do find them, but they keep accepting offers elsewhere. Whatever the problem is, they have some issue with not being able to hire the people they want to hire. So we're kind of like dangling that carrot, be like, okay, the clinician you want to hire, this is why you're not hiring them. And basically just like zeroing right in at the problem and being a leader about it, not kind of hemming and hawing and cutting corners and trying to please the reader and make them feel good, but being straight up about like, hey, you want clinicians, if you wait 3 weeks to interview, they're going to have a new job. Reporting market conditions to people that the owner of a physical therapy clinic or whatever the hiring manager is, they don't have the time and the visibility into the market that you do. So you're giving them really valuable information and saying like, oh, hey, maybe 2 years ago you could have done a hiring process like this, but now it's not. And I know because I have spoken to so many of these people and it mediated so many of these hiring processes. And so just to recap, the two things that I think make this post work so well is it's speaking to a specific person and using their language, and it is talking about a problem that they really want to have solved, which is, hey, the clinicians that we want to hire keep taking offers elsewhere. And this is basically saying, well, here is why. And once a hiring manager understands the link between the problem that we have and the proposed solution, they're willing to listen to your process. But if all you talk about is your process, why would anybody care about that? It's like
Yeah,
listening to a fitness trainer describe a workout program when you don't even know what the results would be or whether it's for somebody in your current state. It's meaningless. So this context really makes the advice that Rachel gives further down in the post matter.
yeah, it's excellent breakdown. One of the things that I want to highlight is in nowhere does she talk about herself here.
Mm.
I
Hmm.
I don't even think there's an I statement once in this post.
Yeah.
And that's a really important lesson, right? There's no I can help you with this. There's no call me if you need help with this. This is just the confidence of doing the work. Just
Yeah.
like this is how it is. And right, you mentioned that, but she's not talking about herself. There's no call to action. Right? The call to action is like, dang, I'm making this mistake. Like, I gotta clean this
Hmm.
up. Right? Her headline's right there. PT turned healthcare recruiter. They know what she does. You don't have to tell
Yeah.
people in every post. Well, you
They're
do
not
LinkedIn
reading this in a
profile during that work.
newspaper. They don't need to pick up the phone and dial a number. If somebody
Yeah.
wants to talk to Rachel, they can click on Rachel's
It's
name and
not, it's
send her a
not Bob
message.
Vila. It's not
Yeah.
ShamWow. You know,
Yeah.
it's like they know where to find you. They can DM you, a little bit. But it's again, she's honed in. She's consistent, which is also really key. But it resonates, right? To your point, it's specific, it's highlighting a problem. Every recruiter has dealt with clients that have waited too long to interview or have taken too long with feedback and everything else. But look how she's packaged that information up, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's intriguing, it's good writing, it's short, it's punchy, it's easy to read, right? There's no hashtags, there's no AI slop on here, there's no M dashes or emojis, there's not a graphic or a selfie that makes no sense for it to be there, right?
Yeah.
This is why text posts just work, right? People get all caught up with video. There's a time and place for video on podcast. I've done it all, but the text post, because that it's like raw. It's a testament to you and your voice, and can you connect and can you resonate, right? Like it's like singing a cappella, right? Versus singing with the karaoke machine behind you, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just a difference. It reveals if this can stand on its merit.
Yeah, and like this is, you said it's in Rachel's voice. Like I can literally hear Rachel's voice saying these things. This is how she talks about these problems, and that's one of the other reasons why it's so effective. Is it doesn't sound like marketing. It doesn't sound like somebody trying to convince somebody. It's just a professional with experience reporting what she's seen and why that matters.
Exactly. And this one got 91 likes. I mean, she's been, I think, recently consistently like in the 10 to 30 range, and just absolutely cleaning up on leads. So it's not about this one, hit. This is one of her most liked posts. Like after all that, almost all her stuff just in the double digits. Like again, not having to go viral. This next one is, well, I don't think this was the one that. No, he had one that 9,000 likes.
He had a truly viral post.
Yeah.
But it wasn't necessarily as good for getting new business. I remember talking to him about dealing with a lot of job seekers in his DMs.
Very true with the viral. I had someone else, another one-on-one client, message me yesterday, go to a post, got 400 likes. He's like, it's all job seekers and people complaining about getting jobs. Like, it's not what I want. I'm like, you got to be, careful what you wish for. But, it's typically a rite of passage. But yeah, let's break this one down.
Yeah. So this is, it's not necessarily doing the thing that the last post did where he's calling out the specific identifiers of, using who this post is for in the top. Like it's a little bit generic up top, but I happen to know that Isaac has curated a really like tight network of people. So most of the people seeing this are in his network. So that's another topic. We'll maybe have to do a separate live about that in the future, but he's just leading with a big problem, offers not getting accepted, and then telling why. And so anybody who has experienced putting an offer out to a candidate and then the candidate not accepting it, and they have to go with their B, C, D choice instead, or they're just kind of left in the lurch, that is going to speak to this person. And then he gets into the story. It's just telling a story, just kind of similarly reporting something that happened. He's not saying, I'm such a genius, I did this, I know all of this stuff. He's just reporting something that happened, something that is going to be recognizable and relatable to the people he's trying to talk to. Basically, anybody who would hire somebody like a health information manager at a hospital.
Context is everything in recruiting. Every agency recruiter looking at this probably nodding their head like, yep, that's one of the things that I help provide. He just talked about it, right? And that's a great call to action. It's not, hey, all this. It's like, if your recruitment partner isn't helping to provide context, let's chat. Because Isaac knows from all the sales calls and being good and everything else, right? Oh, it's just like your next best clients are probably working with an agency or no agency, especially in healthcare. They might like them or don't like them, but either way, they're not coming through. And this is typically one of the ways that stuff gets messed up. And he knows that, right? So just sharing how you bridge that communication gap, it's a big reason why people work with agency recruiters that they trust. And that's good. That's one of the benefits there, right? A good agency recruiter is able to kind of calm down the emotions of both sides and kind of get to the truth, get to like, hey, we're not trying to, if you're going to work there, we're not trying to ruffle feathers or anything. This is just kind of what you're missing. And this happens over and over. This is a theme of what the best recruiters do. And he just shared his own story, right?
And without bragging, he's showing why he's worth the fee all throughout this, because it's not just about, as everybody listening to this knows, it's not just about providing the right resume and sending it to the hiring manager. There's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of gray area. There's a lot of mediation between both parties. And that is one of the big values that a recruiter brings to the table. And he is proving that with this story rather than just claiming it, which is easier for hiring managers to say, yeah, we can do that ourselves.
Yeah. There's a lot of empathy here without saying, hey, I care more, which is what I see on headlines. Oh, I care so much about people, yada, yada. Okay, I mean, it's just words.
Prove it.
This is the way he proved it. You know, this is the showing, like, listening and understanding and all that. Like, that's the value, right? He's not talking about what he does. He's demonstrating what he does. And that resonates more.
Yeah.
Next one. And we're doing all healthcare today, it looks like.
I know. We realized that just now.
We got a bunch of other niches and industries and everything, but it's healthcare focused. But, you know, it's competitive, right? Healthcare is competitive, and people are trying to figure out how to stand out. It's a great example across the board. You know, this 1 week ago. Yeah, Kirsten's been the magician at getting like 8, 9, 10, 11 likes and getting exclusive deals and exclusive contracts and all that just from her content. It's been crazy.
Yeah, because what chief nursing officer at a hospital wants to raise their hand and be like, my budget's tiny and I can't hire the right person? They're not going to comment on this post. They're probably not going to like it either. They don't want to publicly put themselves out there by admitting to a problem. But you know what they're doing? They're sending Kirsten a message.
Yeah, it's breaking a big myth, right? That's what I love about this post. It breaks a myth of, hey, you don't actually have to pay more. And that's probably the excuses that I know a lot of the smaller companies are making. It's like, well, there's other ways you can compete, right? Just like a recruiter, you have to understand your strengths. If you're solo or working for a small firm, what are your strengths compared to a big company, right? What are the things that you can't compete against, right? You can't just throw bodies and marketing dollars and like everything else. You have to be strategic and innovative. And she's sharing that with the clinics. It's like, there are ways, and I'm talking to candidates all the time. It's not just about the money. It's money matters for sure, but there's, again, same thing with context, right? Context of the whole offer, kind of like the other posts. It's like, what are the ways that you can get creative to make great offers, right? And that's a great way for a recruiter to add value, an agency recruiter to add value to their clients. It's like, hey, I've talked to 10, 20, 100, 200 people, 300, 500. Like, this is a common theme. Like, have you guys thought about this with PTO or, a work from home day or whatever, whatever is fitting. Right. It might not just be pizza parties and stuff like that, but like, again, the growth opportunities. Do you guys pay tuition reimbursement? Do you have a mentorship path and all that? That's a big deal in healthcare, especially. And sometimes it's more than just sign-on bonuses, because right now in healthcare, sign-on bonuses, some people just gloss over it, right? Or if they work with an agency recruiter, they maybe have heard stories where they didn't get the sign-on bonus because they worked through an agency recruiter. Right. And, that's one of the things to call out, right? Are you shooting yourself in the foot, with just policies that don't make sense, right? And you're just, that's the kind of stuff that if is going on in your market, you want to talk about, and you want to break some of the myths that they have. And this post does a great job on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And this post has a couple things going for it that are at two different levels. The easy level, it opens with a quote from her market, from the hiring managers that she's trying to get in touch with. Everybody, pay attention to the things your hiring managers are telling you. If they if they express pain to you, save that and use it to open a post. It is so effective because it is literally the things that your market says to describe their problem. At a deeper level, she's doing a little bit of the underdog David versus Goliath thing here. People love an underdog story, and they especially love to hear that maybe they're not as disadvantaged as they thought, and that you can help them and turn what they thought was a disadvantage into an advantage. It's really, really powerful.
And who do you think they're going to reach out to, right? The person that made them aware of that, right? And that's why it turns into leads. Let's go to the last one here.
Yeah, so this one, not a digital recruiter client, so click the name here, but kind of same thing, opens with a problem. This is for a recruiter who hires people who work in Salesforce, or work on Salesforce, for companies who use Salesforce. Salesforce is super expensive, so we're putting that problem out there. You spent 7 figures on Salesforce, and now you don't know how to get the most out of it. This is why you should hire somebody. So it's, again, just kind of like diagnosing the problem and proving through the specific details that this recruiter shares, that they really do understand the problem. They're not just trying to get fee. They're not just trying to get a job order. They are helping businesses to solve problems that they need solved. And that's, I think if we're going to sum up everything that we've looked at today, that's the underlying theme. Show that you can solve a problem, not just show that you can run a process.
Well, this quantify. I love this because it quantifies. And
Mm-hmm.
anytime you can quantify and get numbers and show, what's a $30,000 fee when you could save $200,000,
Mm-hmm.
right? And have something sustainable and user adoption and everything else, right? When you start to quantify the value of the placement fee and getting the right person, where it's just like a no-brainer, right? That's what most companies just haven't thought through.
Mm-hmm.
They really haven't quantified. They're like, agency is expensive. I'm like, compared to what? What's it expensive against, right? Or are you going to hire 2 TA people that don't know what they're doing, give them $80,000, $100,000 each, buy them a LinkedIn recruiter seat? They don't even have time to send in-mails. And that, that maybe that costs you another $20,000. Like, so you're spending $200,000 on people that aren't productive. Meanwhile, you had 5 roles you place for $100,000, and you wouldn't have to pay for the tools, the salary, the benefits, everything else, right? Like, when you can quantify that, that's also stuff that sells, because that's showing your market, wow, I didn't realize the value of the agency recruiter compared to what are the other options that we're looking at or considering or doing, and we're just kind of throwing money away, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you can quantify stuff, that's valuable, right? There's no hashtag here, there's no selfie, there's no anything else, but it's quantifying. And again, the decision makers, the ones with the budget, they're running the numbers like, okay, this person's got a point.
Yeah.
It might be time. I was thinking about this all wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, because at a glance, a recruiting fee is expensive to just about anybody. But that maybe long term, it's actually saving money. So anything you can do to kind of show why your fee is worth it, really good to do, and do it often.
Absolutely. Well, I got to give a shout out to I got a Bailey, Lord Bailey, which is incredible title. I go by Duke. That's great from Wyoming. Hope the cattle and you are doing well up there. And then we got Luke. It's been a while, Luke. Sorry you got promoted a few months back. Congrats. Definitely time for us to catch up again. It's been a while, but hope you're doing well on this Friday, my friend. Ross, this was great. I know we're a little over
thanks
time.
for hanging out, y'all.
This is fun. Yeah, I got I was like 0 viewers, but it's connected to YouTube for whatever reason. It's connected to YouTube just so I can download it. But I know on LinkedIn we had some people tune in. I'm sure watching the recording. Again, if you haven't checked it out, we got the Digital Recruiter free course. Check that out. It's got a bunch of stuff on your profile, which LinkedIn tools to use, how to figure out your value prop, how to talk to your market. It's got some great introduction on content stuff. Check that out. We have the Digital Recruiter Bootcamp. Next class is April 21st. It's going to be me. I'm going to be in there. Ross is going to be in there. Keely Flood, sales coach. He's going to make some visits in there. I think Zamir might show up a little bit. He's been boosting up, been doing some great content. Him and I are doing a workshop on Wednesday to his newsletter as well. We got that going. We got people up and running, going from 300 impressions to 8,000 impressions within the ICP, getting conversations and meetings set, all that stuff rocking and rolling. I know I had another client on that get up and running. They're already connecting at 60% with their market and getting more conversations going, 3xing their impressions. People, we know what we're doing. We know what we're talking about, right? So if you're ready to take content seriously and make it happen, check out the free course, look at the boot camp. We have a LinkedIn sprint as well to get people up and running with outreach and content in a month. Really, I get them up and running in a week, and then we have the rest of the month to evaluate it. So if you have questions, message me with more details. Ross, we're doing everything, right? You're doing some content interviews with clients, we make stuff happen. So check out the free course. Yeah, shoot us a message. If you want to get content right, start getting some actual leads this year, right? The market might be crazy for some people. Don't use that as an excuse. There's always opportunity. Someone's making money this year, making placements. Might as well be you.
Amen.
All right, man. Well, till next time, maybe next Friday. We'll see.
Yeah.
Have a great weekend. Ross, appreciate you again. Great breakdown. We'll talk soon, y'all. Play some music for us. Oh, feeding the ducks.